It's time to spill
the tea.
Hello!
You there, and welcome to
A Spoonful of Theatre. This is our theatre podcast where we review a local theatre production right outside the theatre. I'm TJ, theatre practitioner and director.
And I'm Sam, a teacher of language, literature, and self-proclaimed show business lovey. And we are reporting to you right outside SOTA, yes.
We have just watched Much Ado About Nothing, yes, the Shakespeare classic, produced by the Winter Players. Now, this is the second time we've reviewed a Winter Players production. They are a local theatre collective that is trying to bring old works to the Singapore theatre scene. And do you know what, Sam? I think the thing I love about the Winter Players is that they are passionate young professionals that are making something happen, which is really, really exciting.
Oh, I could not agree with you more. It was absolutely palpable on the stage tonight how much they were enjoying themselves.
Yes.
The entire company were really having a lot of fun tonight, and that's with a Shakespeare play. And Shakespeare is not easy. I mean, everyone knows, anybody who studied Shakespeare knows that the language is not easy. And to bring that play to life like they did tonight was really, really commendable. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Absolutely. So I think the collective just breathes energy and enthusiasm, and in Singapore especially, it's very hard for new actors to get experiences on a professional stage. So having this platform where they can, try things out, try works that maybe the bigger theatre companies wouldn't normally produce, but also just learn. You only learn by doing. And I think what's really clear for me tonight is the level of the production from Header to this one, I think has gone up 10 notches, in many, many aspects. As we go into the review, I think that'll be really clear. But I think the standard has improved so much, even within these two productions. So I'm really looking forward to where Winter Players goes in future.
Should we get stuck into it then?
Yes.
So, I so agree with what you just said there. And when you walked into the theatre, which was only a black box kind of theatre, quite honestly, you were wowed by the set immediately. They have put in a lot of effort with that set.
Yeah.
It really, really catches your eye. And then we go straight into the play, and they take a sort of twist on it, TJ, don't they?
They do.
They take it into, they do two things. Now, one I think works really well. The other, I think, was unnecessarily shoehorned in. I think they did really well with going around the 1960s theme, and with the music, with the dancing, with the costumes as well. And do you know what it reminded me of, TJ? It reminded me of an old 1960s Batman episode. It was campy.
A very specific reference point, but sure, I'm sure all of our listeners know that.
Well, go and YouTube it. Go look up 1960s Batman, because it was campy. It was frivolous. For the most part, it didn't take itself too seriously, and it was quite fun. I really enjoyed it. But the other side of it is that I do feel that they shoehorned the Singapore setting. And that doesn't work from the offset, because they're talking about Messina and Padua, which are in Italy, and you're shoehorning Singapore reference in there, which I didn't think were necessary. I didn't think they really added to the story. But what did you think on that?
I agree with you. I think when you take a Shakespeare and either modernize it or put a twist on it, Shakespeare's works really do lend themselves to that, and I've seen several good adaptations of that over the years. It does require a lot of care and attention and detail. You can't just half-heartedly go there. And I think the Singapore references that you just mentioned, I do agree with you that it wasn't Singapore enough, as in, I think the accents throughout the show could have been, if we're going to set it in Singapore, okay, we need to be in Singapore. And that's very difficult in Shakespeare as well, because there's a certain, way that the words roll off the tongue in a Shakespeare text. But yeah, it didn't quite land enough, which then meant that some of the costumes, because they were set a little bit in Singapore, didn't quite make as much sense, because there wasn't as much placement within the text to make that make sense for me. So, but I feel like I kind of just ignored the fact we were supposed to be in Singapore and just kind of forgot about it for a while. And I was enjoying it more when I put that thought to one side. So I would say props to trying, but that's something that I feel like in future that if they go down that route, they need to just delve a little bit more into that. I slightly disagree with you about on the 60s. For me, again, we didn't quite go enough. If we're really in the 60s, let's go with full-on 60s costumes. Let's go on with full-on 60s, kind of incorporate it a little bit more. It just felt like the 60s was just transition music, which, you know, worked. But, and again, when I stopped thinking with my director head going, where's the rest of the 60s? I went, okay, I don't mind the transition music, but again, it wasn't rooted in the overall vision enough for me to make that make sense. But I feel like I'm being a bit negative there, because actually, my first thoughts were I had a really, really wonderful evening in the theatre. I was actually really entertained, and to entertain a modern audience with Shakespeare is really difficult. And I think there was a lot of lovely comic timing moments, a lot of comic interactions between the characters. And I think the big improvement that I saw since Header is really that care and attention to character development and commitment to character throughout. And I really enjoyed them doing comedy, actually. I feel like comedy was something that sat better as for the collective than the heavier stuff before.
Well, carrying on with the acting there, yes, I think a good many of the actors there really had the comic timing to a fine art there. But also, a couple of the actors there also had the language down to a fine art. Something I've said before is that there is a difference between performing Shakespeare on stage or reading Shakespeare on stage. In this case, I'm sorry to say, shouting Shakespeare on stage. There was, in the second half of the play, where I was getting a bit of a headache because it just got a little bit too shouty for me. But I would like to make a special mention to Geoffrey and to Hanny, who brought the language to life. They made it so natural, as if they speak Shakespearean every single day as part of their natural language. It was so well done. Real kudos to Geoffrey and Hanny. And I also want to give a special shout out to Joel. Sticking with the 1960s Batman kind of thing, he went for a character type and he stuck with it. He was kind of like a campy James Bond kind of Batman villain, and it really, really worked. I just wish, and this is nothing to do with the Winter Plays, it's just the way Shakespeare sometimes just writes off characters and forgets about them. I really wanted some closure to Joel's character, but it was really, really well done. What about you for the acting?
I think this is where this work has a place. Every single up-and-coming theatre, actually every single established theatre scene, around the world, needs this style of theatre and this level of theatre company, because this is a place people could learn. So what I saw on the stage was some inconsistencies, but I appreciate that, because actually people are learning and people are developing and people are getting to develop their craft. But there were some phenomenal performances on that stage tonight that people really should go and see and enjoy. And I don't think there was a bad performance on that stage tonight. I just think there was some inconsistencies at times throughout the production. So for me, my standouts, I really enjoyed the policeman duo of Josh and Isaac. I thought initially I was a bit unsure for the first 2 minutes of it, and then as the play went on and they kept doing things, I thought that was really good. And it can be really easy to go into hamming that up too much, but I think it landed at a really nice place for me. So those two really stood out for me. I also agree, Hanny also stood out for me. And also for me, another standout was also Aaron as well. I thought Aaron really had a very natural delivery to his lines, and I really believed everything he said, and his physicality and presence on the stage really drew me to him the whole time. So yeah, some real nice standouts, real nice chance to see some up-and-coming actors in the Singapore scene, and quite a lot of new faces. I was looking through the program, and there was a few people that I just never even heard of before, which I really love seeing that. So that was great for me as well.
The scene is growing. The scene is growing. Now then, TJ, the Winter Players are a brand new collective. Can you just summarise what a collective is?
So a collective is a group of actors or performers or creatives that come together with a mission. In this case, their mission is to bring young Singaporean theatre makers with a deep love of classic works to bring them back to life into Singapore setting, which is a really wonderful chance. But I think more than that, really, ultimately, is to give new actors a space to make work, which is really difficult. And, I really hope they get supported by NAC. SRT have been really great in supporting them thus far. So I think as audiences, I really hope that people do go support this show. I really recommend this show for people. I think it's a great night out of the theatre. My one gripe.
Oh dear.
I do have a very big gripe.
Oh.
Because at the beginning it was said it was 2 hours and 15 minutes. And we actually left 2 hours and I think 55 minutes later. I don't have a problem with the show being that long and the night in the theatre being that long, but when you mentally prepare yourself for 2 hours and 15 and then it goes on more than 40 minutes longer than it's been told, I actually start getting annoyed, not because of anything in the show, but if I'd have set myself up from that. So just tell the audiences how long it's going to be. It is the second night, so I'm sure last night it was the same length.
Yeah.
So just a slight gripe, because I was getting a bit annoyed that I was not in a bar already, because in my head I'd planned my evening. So being completely honest.
I agree with that. I mean, anyone who knows or has seen Shakespeare knows that they are long plays, because back in Shakespeare's days, a theatre was a day out, so they are long plays. Yes, my bum was falling asleep towards the end. Now then, ladies and gentlemen, just to let you know that the Winter Players edition of Shakespeare's Much Ado About Nothing is playing at the SOTA Studio Theatre until the 22nd of June, and tickets are available on Eventbrite. And, dear listeners, you could get a bit of a discount as well, can't they, TJ?
Yes, you can. Our exclusive discount to this play that we revealed in our last podcast is ASOT 15, that's ASOT 15, and that will get you 15% off the production.
Right then, my tea's gone cold, love, and you are desperate for a drink. Shall we leave it there?
Absolutely.
Right, so that's cheerio from us. We'll be back soon.
And a ta-ra from me.
And to the cast and crew of the Winter Players, Much Ado About Nothing.
And anyone else performing in Singapore theatre,
Break a leg.